Hey guys, welcome to the All Sports Pass Podcast North. I'm your host, X-Nice Kriegel and welcome back to another video today. Welcome to the newest video in the SEC Schedule Prediction Series, where today I'm going to be covering the Auburn Tigers. And before we get in this video, we already know we got to start off with the verse of the day. And today's verse comes from Deuteronomy 31:6, and it says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." Amen to that. And also, guys, keep in mind that these are my predictions. These are what I think is going to happen over the course of the season. And if you want to leave your predictions down in the comments down below, feel free to do so. I'll try my best to respond to each and every one of you. And also, before we get into it, like, subscribe for more college football content. Without further ado, let's begin. So for Auburn, they're coming into this season following a 6-7 season, and they went 3-5 in SEC play, and they lost in the Music City Bowl 31-13 to Maryland. And of course, this season they won against UMass. They beat California. They then beat Samford, not Stanford, Samford. And then they lost to Texas A&M. Then they lost to Georgia. And they nearly, in my opinion, not in my opinion, excuse me, let's rewind a little bit. I watched a little bit of this game, and they were about to pull it off, but it just didn't end up working out in their favor. So they lost this game by a score of 27-20. The next game, they played LSU, and they lost 48-18. Then they played Ole Miss, where they lost by a score of 28-21. And they played Mississippi State, where they won 27-13. Then they played Vanderbilt, where they won 31-15. And they played at Arkansas. At Arkansas. They played them. They won by a score of 48-10. And then they lost to New Mexico State in an upset by a score of 31-10, and then they lost to Alabama by a score of 27-24. Sorry, Auburn fans, on that 4th and a mile. Mill Road to Bond. Yeah, and then they lost to Maryland, like I just said. However, let's see what they got going down this season. Of course, they have two key players coming in to the transfer portal. Coming into Auburn through the transfer portal. They got Keandre Lambert-Smith from Penn State, and they got Keandre Lambert-Smith, wide receiver from Penn State, and they got Rico Walker, tight end from Maryland, coming to Auburn. And, of course, it's going to see how they can do this season. Here's what Football Times says here in their predictions. They have them finishing 11th out of 16 SEC teams. It says, Coach Hugh Freeze's Tigers showed some improvement last year, winning 6 games, but they still have a long way to go to be a title contender. Their last year's quarterback transferred to Michigan State, so they are not sure who the new QB will be, which is a very important question. The 2024 Tiger defense should be improved, though. And let's just say this, that every year is a new season for every team, and enough of me yapping. Let's get into this. So, week 1, they're going to be playing Alabama A&M, and I'm going to say this, that Alabama A&M is an FCS team, and they finished last season 5-6 and went 3-5 in the Southwestern Atlantic Conference. And so I'm just going to say this, that this game here is a win for Auburn. I just think that, Auburn should have no problems getting by Alabama A&M. Now, of course, there are some upsets that have happened over the last few years with some FCS teams. Most notably, like I've said on the channel before, Appalachian State upsetting Michigan, number 5 Michigan, back in 2007 at the Big House in Michigan. And man, that's just one that always comes to mind for me. Yeah. However, I think, I just think that, of course, it's highly unlikely it's going to happen, though. So I'm going to give this one to Auburn. And next game, they're playing California, and let me tell you this. Auburn barely beat California by a score of 14-10, but I'm just going to tell you this, that it's going to be another interesting game for me. I really think that for this game, so we're going to see what California does. Of course, California is going to be joining the ACC this year, and California also went 6-7 last season, and they went 4-5 in the Pac-12, and they also went to the Independence Bowl. They lost 34-14 to Texas Tech, and I just think, of course, that it's going to see what California does this season. And, of course, Auburn barely beat them last year. So, really, I'm going to be honest, I don't know. I really don't. But, however, I'm going to say this, that I think I'm going to give this one to Auburn. I just think that Auburn might be able to pull it off. So, I'm going to give this one to Auburn here. And that's just what I think is going to happen. Because I think with Auburn having the home advantage as well, it's going to see what they can do here. But I think I'm going to give this one to Auburn. Then the next game, they're going to be playing New Mexico, and let me tell you this: they hold on. Let me check the schedule again. Sorry, they lost New Mexico State last year. Okay, so it's New Mexico. Sorry, they lost to New Mexico State last year. That's why I got confused with the names. However, New Mexico is coming into this season following a 4-8 season. We can go 2-6 in the Mountain West. And let's say this: New Mexico is not a Power 4 conference. Excuse me. So it's gonna be interesting to see what can happen. I'm sorry. So this game should be a win for Auburn because typically non-Power 5 teams normally. Non-Power 4 teams, normally lose to Power 4 teams. But so like I said, anything can happen in college football. You'll have upsets and everything. But, however, I just think this is likely going to be a win for Auburn. So I got Auburn winning this one here. Then the next game they're playing is Arkansas. And Auburn beat Arkansas pretty handily last season. But, however, of course, it's going to be nice to see what Arkansas can do this year. 2024 could be Football Time has them finishing 15 out of 16 teams in the SEC, and of course they have a QB, Taylon Green, who's from the transfer from Boise State, competing with Jacoby Criswell for the starting quarterback position as well. And they also have former head coach Bobby Petrino. He returned as the offense coordinator, which could help. But, however, it might be another rough year for the Razorbacks. But let me tell you this. I'm going to say this, that I think Auburn's going to probably win this one. So I'm going to give this one to Auburn. I just think it's going to happen. All right, and then the next game, they're playing SEC newcomer Oklahoma at Auburn. And it's going to be nice to see what Oklahoma does. And Football Time has Oklahoma finishing 7th out of 16. It says the Sooners will begin their first season in the SEC with a difficult schedule that includes Texas, Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. They have quarterback Jackson Arnold, who they are very high on, plus running back Gavin Sawchuk and wide receiver Nick Anderson set to lead the offense. However, the defense must be improved for the Sooners to be a big winner in 2024. And I just think that Oklahoma at Auburn, this game is going to be interesting to say the least. And I just think that, of course, that for Oklahoma, it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. Like I said, it's their first season in the SEC. And it's going to be interesting to see what Oklahoma can do at this point. But here's what I'm going to do. I actually think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to give this one to Oklahoma because now, say Oklahoma can improve this part of the season. I just think that Oklahoma should be able to do it. So I'm going to give this one to Oklahoma here. The next game, they're playing at Georgia, and I have to say here, last year Auburn nearly upset Georgia, however, it just didn't happen. And if Georgia is able to, if Georgia has now they do have a tough road schedule playing at Texas, Alabama, and Ole Miss. They also have Heisman Trophy candidate Carson Beck back to lead the offense, as well as all the other tools they need to win. So it's going to be nice to see what if Georgia can get back to, in the Georgia video I had them going 13-0, but it's going to be nice to see if Georgia can perhaps, keep on sorry, let me rewind a little bit. It's going to be to see if Georgia can go 13-0 again, which I think might end up happening. So, I'm sorry, did I say 13-0? Sorry, I meant to say 12-0 there. And I just think that for this game is just it's probably going to belong to Georgia, so I'm going to give this one to Georgia here. The next game, they're playing Missouri, and Football Times says the Tigers surprised mostly everyone last year, winning 11 games and going to the Cotton Bowl and defeating Ohio State. Their outstanding quarterback, Brady Cook, is back, and he makes things happen. Also back is their potential All-SEC wide receiver, Luther Burden III, and the defense, although strong last year, lost several key players and is questionable. And I just think this for Mizzou, it's going to be interesting to see what they can do this season because they did lose several key players on defense and it is questionable. So let's see what's going to happen. But however, I think if Mizzou is going to continue on that season is going to continue on the success from last season, I think that's going to happen against Auburn. So you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to give this one to Missouri. Yeah, I'm going to give it to Missouri here. That's what I'm going to do. Then next game, they're playing at Kentucky, and Football Time has Kentucky finishing 10th out of 16 teams. And it says the Wildcats are a difficult team to predict their success because you never know what team will show up. However, they got 2 Georgia transfers, quarterback Brock Vandegrift and linebacker Jamin Dumas-Johnson, who will both be stars, and also transfer running back Chip Tregenham should be a much-needed addition to the offense and a positive boost for the Wildcats. And I'm going to say this, that Kentucky, honestly, that I really think it's going to be interesting to see because, of course, they have Vandegrift. They have Vandegrift starting a quarterback. It's going to be interesting to see how he can lead this offense. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give this one to. I think I'm going to give this one to. I'm going to give this one to Kentucky here because. Sorry. Let me rerun. I'm going to give this one to Auburn here because we don't know really. Because it's this says here, you don't know how Kentucky is going to do this season. We really don't know how. So now, of course, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Of course, Kentucky's going to do to this point of the season. But I'm going to say this, that I think I'm going to give this one to Auburn. I just think Auburn may be the team to beat Kentucky here. And I just think it's going to be Auburn winning this one. In the next game, they're playing Vanderbilt, and I have to say this. Vanderbilt they're going to have their Football Time has them finishing 16 out of 16 teams. And what else is new? The Commodores are perched at the bottom of the new 16 SEC teams. Last year, Vandy only won 2 games overall and 0 SEC games. Vandy has had several of their players transfer, so they'll have to rely on 2 transfer quarterbacks to lead their team. Nate Johnson transferred from Utah and Diego Pavia from New Mexico. It may also be another long year for Vandy. It's interesting to see what Vanderbilt does, honestly. But however, I just don't see them beating Auburn. I just don't see it happening. So I'm going to give this one to Auburn here. And next game, they're playing the University of Louisiana Monroe, and for this and for ULM, they're not a Power 4 team. They play in the Sun Belt Conference, and they finished with a 2-10 record last season, went 0-8 in Sun Belt play. And, of course, they have a new coach as well. And it's going to be interesting to see what this team can do. However, I just don't see them getting past Auburn. So I'm going to give this one to Auburn here. I just think that's what's going to end up happening here. All right, and then the next game, they're playing Texas A&M. And Texas A&M is predicted, for these predictions, they're ranked 9th out of 16 SEC teams. The Aggies are another SEC team with a new head coach, Mike Elko. He was hired to get the Aggies back into title contention. It may not happen this year, but he has his injured quarterback, Connor Wigman, returning, plus his outstanding wide receiver, Moose Muhammad. Since Elko excels as defensive coach, the Aggie defense should be strong. And I really think that I'm going to say this here. I think I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to give this one to Texas A&M. I think A&M, honestly, should be able to win this one. So I think I'm going to give this one to Texas A&M because if the defense strengthens up, it's going to be interesting to see what A&M can do. And it's also going to be interesting to see what Auburn can do at this point of the season as well. So at this point, you have 2 games left, and Auburn, they're going to try to improve everything they can to improve. I think it's going to be a close one. So I'm going to give this one to, but I think it's going to be Texas A&M. So I'm going to give this one to Texas A&M. The next game is the Iron Bowl, and I am so sorry, Auburn fans. 4th and a mile from Jalen Milroe to Isaiah Bond. But however, this game, the Iron Bowl is obviously one of the games that I'm really excited to see in because there's been some great moments, like, of course, the kick 6 and everything. And that play is still talked about like over a decade later. And now, of course, this game's mostly a toss-up, but I'll tell you what, Alabama also has a new coach. But however, of course, now the Tide's new coach for these predictions, Alabama's predicted to finish third out of 16 SEC teams. The Tide's new head coach, Kalen DeBoer, has some big shoes to fill in replacing the legendary Nick Saban. He inherits an excellent quarterback, Jalen Milroe, and many other talented players to start his tenure at Alabama. And I'm just going to say this, that Auburn about won this game last year, but of course the 4th and 31. Once again, sorry, Auburn fans. This game is mostly a toss-up, really. But I just think that it's going to depend on how Alabama does this year as well. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say this. I don't know. But I think I'm going to give this one to Alabama because I just think Alabama, honestly, they might be able to figure some things out at this point of the season, and I think they should be able to beat Auburn. So I'm going to give this one to Alabama. And all right, so that's going to end this video. That's all I got for y'all tonight. And also, guys, keep in mind, these are my predictions. These are what I think is going to happen over the course of the season for Auburn. And, of course, guys, keep in mind that I'm still learning a bit as well. And also, it's college football. Anything can happen. There are some games that Auburn may win that they end up losing. There may be some games that they lose that they end up winning. You just never know. And also, guys, feel free to leave your predictions down in the comments down below, and I'll try my best to respond to each and every one of you. And with that being said, peace out, God bless, and good night.